Guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about tips to help a medical coding student or a medical coding job seeker you know. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue. I'm a medical coder. Okay, guys, so I will say this. I am a medical coder, and my channel is dedicated to medical coders, medical coding students, and those that are interested in the field. This episode is actually the first of its kind on my channel. I have never made an episode dedicated to speaking to those that are the village that surrounds the person that is actually going through the process of learning medical coding or trying to find their first job in medical coding after getting certified. So this is a first for me, but I will say this episode was inspired by a spouse who made a comment on my channel and was saying a lot of things that weren't true. And I just want to kind of address some of these things. And maybe you have found yourself thinking some of these things as well and thinking, what is taking so long? You know, they just got certified and they should be out there and they should be able to find a first job. And why is everybody ignoring them? I want you guys to understand this. This field is an incredible field. Health information is really a very dedicated niche field, okay? A lot of people do not understand what we do. And unless you are in the inside, and unless you know about all the things that we have to know, which is quite a few things, and I'm not going to get into many technical things, but I do want to just kind of give you just an overview of what it is. Unless you are actually in it, you will never understand what we're going through. And it is difficult. Whenever anybody decides that, hey, they want to change midstream and they want to do a different career field, and they pick this career field. And maybe you've been looking at some of the things that are out there about medical coding, that it's difficult to find a job, that, it's, you can only do certain things and, all these other things. And maybe you're thinking, well, why are you even in this? Trying to discourage the person because your heart's in the right place because you think maybe they're wasting their time. But I really do believe, because this has happened to me, that this career field finds people. It finds people. It found me. I had no idea what medical coding was when I very first started. When I was going through the workforce agency, and they were the ones who set me up with this program in order to learn medical coding and to find my first job. And so I didn't know anything about it. And it wasn't until I got into the school that I started to understand. Well, my mother didn't know anything about it either, and so, but she knew that she was going to encourage me to do what it is I need to do, which was get through the school. I'm naturally a nerd as it is. And for even me, there was times when it was very difficult because there's a lot of things that you don't understand as a coder. And it takes a while to understand these things. And some of these things require you to actually have experience to fully understand what's happening, okay? So sometimes if you are with your medical coder and they don't understand something, or maybe they're getting frustrated, this is what you need to do. Tip number 1 is to encourage them when they feel like giving up. Now, my mom didn't have that issue with me as far as me wanting to give up. She didn't have that issue. What she did have was like, okay, I know there's things that are frustrating her, and I've got to be the one to help lift her up and let her know that she can do this. And that was exactly what I needed. And so that helped to propel me forward and keep me going and keep me motivated. And that's exactly what you should be doing for your medical coder or your medical coding student. Now, whether they are on their job hunting journey or whether they are, learning something, you can actually be a part of this journey too. This is not just a solo thing. And even though, well, you might say, well, I don't like to read and that's why I didn't go back to school and I've got a job. And yes, but they need your support. Your coder needs your support. And it can be in the most simplest of ways. It can be with holding flashcards. It can be with bringing them a cold bottle of water or a hot cup of coffee when you see them studying. It can be that gentle reminder, hey, have you eaten? Can I make you something? Let me bring you some let me bring you a snack, something like that, because that's what they need. It's those little things. You don't necessarily have to be in the school part because maybe that you don't like that. That's okay. But you can help support them in other ways. You don't have to think of it as, oh, my spouse or my child, they're spending so much time with it, they don't have any time for me. This is a career field that needs time to develop, and again, that you have to spend time to learn it. And so having that patience and showing them that grace during this time when they're trying to learn is going to do a lot of things. They're not trying to leave you. They're not trying to ignore you. They're trying to learn. And you being that solid partner or that supportive parent and helping them in that journey and in this phase is going to mean so much to them. Because it's an incredible thing when you have a supportive village around you. I do get messages from a lot of people that tell me how their spouse or their friends or their parents don't believe in them. And that is very hard to hear. When I was in school, I went to school and there was all people of all ages and people that were older than me. At the time I was in my 20s, and there were some ladies there in their 40s. And they would sit around and tell me how their parents didn't believe in them, how their spouse didn't think they were smart enough, and how they would tell them that, and that they were wasting their time on this kind of career field because they were never going to get a job. Well, those comments have a strong hold on some people. And for some people it works and they just give up because no one believed in them. And they don't have the confidence enough to believe in themselves. They should believe in themselves. And so some of those people come to my channel and they get that support here. And they say, Blue, I needed these encouraging words because everybody around me is just discouraging me. So I would hope that maybe this message might get to somebody and think, well, maybe I have been kind of tough on, my medical coder or my medical coding student. Maybe I might think about encouraging them a little bit more, which would be really great. Because if we could just encourage each other, and instead of, getting all this, oh no, you're not going to be able to do it, you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do that, or you're just doing this because you want to work at a hospital and meet all kinds of people, which is number 2. Don't let your ego get in the way of supporting your medical coding student or your medical coding job seeker. Trust me, guys, they're not going to the hospital to hook up with people, okay? Oftentimes we are separated and we are segregated away from the clinics. Sometimes we are in the clinic, it all depends, but everybody is busy. Everybody is doing their own thing. And believe me, coders have a production that they have to meet. If you are not meeting production, if you are not meeting accuracy standards, they fire you. And that's not what you want. You want to be able to get started because, one, it's a miracle when you're brand new and somebody gives you a chance and you get in. You're not going to screw that up, right? You're going to get in and then you're going to start working and doing all of these things so that you can focus on getting stronger as a coder. And then, you'll be able to have other opportunities as far as like working from home or, doing other things like consulting work. That's always a thing. And so a lot of times coders are focused on that. I've had a few medical coding students write into me and say that, their spouse was a little bit jealous because they said, oh, you're just trying to do this so you can meet somebody at the hospital. And that's really not the case. I have been in the hospital for 15 years and never once have I dated anybody at the hospital. So I'm just saying, that's just me, And that's the thing that you have to think about. A lot of times it's not what is, it's not what you think as far as like, oh, they're just there to, hook up with people or connect and meet new friends and things like that. It's about actually paying attention to what you're doing at work and coding and making sure that it's accurate and educating and doing those things. And oftentimes when providers see new coders, these new coders, they don't have all the confidence in the world. I know I didn't have all the confidence in the world. I was very shy in the beginning when I was trying to educate providers. I would get nervous and, I would forget to really go into just different details about procedure coding or whatever. And it wasn't until I got more confident in myself, being several years into the field, that, okay, this is what this is, this is what this is. And I work in the orthopedic clinic and podiatry clinic. They see me, we're brother and sister. That's exactly what it is. And that's often what it is for these coders. So that's something that you have to really think about. Don't let your ego get in the way of supporting your medical coder or your medical coding job seeker. Do not let it get in the way, because they're not there for that. These coders are there to code, they're there to learn, they're there to get better with their skill so that they can have other opportunities. Because this field is quite lucrative. Now, we do not get into specifics about money on my channel. Never have, never will. Because it is my firm belief that if you do not chase the money will go to you, but you cannot chase that money. And I've never chased money, and I've never had an issue. Okay, so that's just something that you have to consider, that it's not about what you think it's about. It's about actually them working and doing all of these things in coding. So that's the other thing that you have to be aware of. You know, your support means so much to them. Your encouragement is everything. And you telling them that you're proud of them, that can mean so much. You know, I posted my response, not to that person, the spouse that made those comments, but I did post a PSA, right? I just want to read this to y'all because I think that this kind of sums up everything that I wanted to say, but didn't really think about at the moment when I was addressing their comments. So this comment says, or what I posted on LinkedIn, which got a lot of engagement, which is unusual because with LinkedIn, for some reason, with the posts that I get, you know, there's maybe a few likes here and there, but this one actually got 60 in record timing. And so I was like, wow, you know, that's a lot. But it's something that it tells me that there's students out there who are facing this, who their spouses or their friends or their, you know, their parents don't really believe in them. So let me get to this comment where I said, attention spouses or parents of medical coding students or medical coders. There is a lot to becoming a medical coder. Oftentimes, coders will have to look for months and face many rejections before getting hired. This is the industry. It is not personal. We as coders are responsible for accurate medical coding so that patients are not overbilled and providers can get paid appropriately for the work that they do. It takes a lot. Your encouragement and support is what is needed while your coder/future coder is on their journey. Not making random posts expressing incorrect statements as fact, especially on my channel and my social media platforms, because it will not be tolerated. Keep in mind that it is a small community and your comments will be noticed. If you want to be constructive, do research for them. If there are plenty of resources out there to help your coder, focus your efforts on that. Not making these posts like this spouse did, talking about how his wife has 20 years of medical experience, medical professional experience, I don't know what, medical professional experience, and has been applying for the last 3 months to fit between 50 and 100 jobs. Okay, my brother, you don't know how many jobs your wife applied to, between 50 and 100. That's a big gap in between. That tells me that you really don't know how many jobs they've applied to. And because you don't know how many jobs they've applied to, the other thing that he said was, I don't recommend this field at all. Okay, but why are you so quick to say that you don't recommend it? How do you know that it's not just one more job that she needs to apply for that she'll be able to get? How do you know that there's not something wrong with her resume, which is often the case, which brings me to my third thing. If you really want to help your medical coder, your medical coding student, do your research. If you know that they are getting ready to apply, make sure, look over their resume. If you don't know anything about resumes, I have a ton of videos on my channel about resume tips for medical coders. Now, I'm a resume writer myself. My rate and contact information is in the description box below. But I will say this, I have a full calendar right now, and I will not be accepting any new clients until September 2024. So that's just something you got to keep in mind. But here's the thing. If you're sending out a terrible resume, and a terrible resume being 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages. I've seen one that was 6 pages on LinkedIn before. And 2 pages is normally the cap, right? What you cap off at. However, I have found that, because I've written 2-page resumes before, and they've done just as fine. However, in the sophistication of going through so many of them, now I have learned this. When a person is brand new and they don't have experience in coding, they should actually be on 1 page. They should actually be on 1 page. So if your coder or your medical coding student's resume is more than 1 page, you need to shorten it to 1 page, okay? It needs to only go back 10 years or 15 years max. If there are multiple jobs going on, then, and if they were like really short, some of them were really short, don't include the really short jobs. And if they say, well, you know, she's just been a stay-at-home mom, or, you know, my husband has been a stay-at-home dad. I actually had one person that was, you know, writing in for their husband, and they've been a stay-at-home dad. So if they've been a stay-at-home parent, don't think that, oh, they haven't been working, they haven't been doing anything. That's not true. Stay-at-home parents actually do a lot. Even though they're not getting a paycheck, they're still raising a family. They're still managing the household budget. If they are shopping and doing the grocery shopping and things like that, they still have to know the medical histories of their family members and keep track of that. So there's a lot of things that can be put on there that can translate into what we need as medical coders, which is privacy and, you know, money handling if they're going to apply for a medical billing position first. Okay. So there's a lot of things that there's different variables that happen. I don't know what the state of that person's spouse's resume is. But again, if you're not highlighting the skills that you have now, which is the coding, and you can't just say coding, you have to say ICD-10-CM, CPT, HCPCS, ICD-10 PCS if they were trained in that. That's inpatient coding, and not all coders get that. So if they don't have that, that's okay, but at least put those on there. And then medical terminology and anatomy. You can find out exactly what that employer is looking for by looking directly at the job listing itself. I say this all the time to coders. And so maybe it might take you as the friend, the spouse, or the parent to say, you know what? What does your resume look like? Let's look at that. Let's see if that's the problem. And if you see 2, 3, 4, 5 pages, then you know, hey, we need to get this thing fixed down to just one page. So that way we can just give them exactly what they need. You know, exactly what we want to say to them as far as what they're looking for. Do we have the skills that they're looking for? And all the jobs that we've had, what can we translate over into this resume that can make sense for the medical coding field? Privacy, security of information, and money handling if you did that. Any kind of math if they did that, any kind of minor math, you know, plus, minus, multiplication, division, whatever, you know, those things are all important. When we talk about like the professional, a lot of times new medical coders will try to put professional summary. They do not have a summary. New medical coders do not have a summary. They have a professional objective. This is their objective. They want to work at what? What is the job they are applying for? That needs to be there, okay? And that professional objective needs to be 3 or 4 sentences at most. Very quick, to the point, and it's just a little brief, like this is what I'm here for, and this is why I'm applying to this position, okay? And then you have your cover letter. The cover letter is not a regurgitation of the resume, okay? Don't want to see any of those things that are on that resume, on that cover letter. That cover letter needs to be the person. It needs to be like, okay, this is what we're bringing to this job. We're a team player. We're organized. That should be there on that cover letter. Those words, team player, organized, should never be on the skills list on the resume, because trust me, if I see that, it's an immediate rejection, because you're not paying attention to what I need, which is, do you know coding? what do you know in coding? Okay, ICD-10-CM, CPT, Higgs-PICS, medical terminology, anatomy, pathophysiology. Those are the key things that need to be there. If they are not there, then they need to fix that. And ICD-10-CM, which is our diagnosis coding, needs to be on one line. It cannot be ICD-10. Again, if I see that ICD-10, it's an immediate rejection because you're not specific enough. There's two different ICD-10s. ICD-10-CM, diagnosis. ICD-10-PCS, that is the inpatient coding. And if they didn't get trained in that, they need to leave that off of there. But that's why it's got to be very specific. And so that's the thing that you have got to think about. There's more variables than you're thinking. Okay, and if they're only applying for remote positions, that's also another problem, because with remote positions, a lot of them do require experience because you're at home and you're working. It's different if you're at a place and you have to go and get training, and coders need that because book coding and real world coding are two different things. They have to learn the electronic health record, and that's another task they've got to learn when they're brand new. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. Again, a lot of variables. And so don't blame the field when your coder or your student does not get hired right away. Do not blame the field. This is part of it. A lot of us look for months before we get started anywhere, okay? Now, I looked for 2 months, and my mom was the one who told me to go back to the school and to go ask them, do they have any leads on jobs? And so the guy at the principal of the school was like, oh, well, my friend has a temporary agency. So he says they specialize in medical professions. So if that's, we can get you started there. And I thought, oh, no, I don't want a job at a temporary place. But he says that's experience that you get. And you know what? He was right. And so was my mother. Okay. So having that and working, my first assignment was found within a week of going to the temp agency. Within a week, because it's their job as a temporary agency to get that person who's applying a job. Because if that person's making money, then they're making money. And that's the name of the game, is to make money, okay? So they found me a job within a week. I was there for 3 months. It was a 3-month assignment. But I learned cancer coding, okay? That's that neoplasm coding. That's what I learned. And that was a great first start because that's the most comprehensive coding that you can do. And it can prepare you for most any setting, okay? Then I got my second job, and I was there for 8 months before I got here to my forever home. So I had to make 2 jumps in the time before when I got started in order to get here and be in my forever home. And I just celebrated my 15-year work anniversary last month. It's possible, guys. It is possible. And I would not have been here. I would not have made it here had it not been for the encouragement and the support and love that I got from my mother. So y'all need to think about that. The support system means so much. And you would not believe the incredible things that can happen when you start supporting. And you can take that hat off of thinking that you have to know everything about this field too, because you don't. That's why your coder does. Take that hat off, but let's ease the burden for them because it's already hard enough. You've already got other students out there, coding students out there, that will plant seeds of doubt in their mind if they're not really sure of themselves. And they say, well, I couldn't pass this and I couldn't pass that. And they're already discouraging their own self. And then your coder may hear it and think, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do this. And then you've got this commiseration going on. But if you're that person that loves them, cares for them, supports them, and says, you know what? No, you're going to get through this. You're smart enough. You can do this. You've got this. Don't listen to what anybody else says. You've got this. And you're going to do the whole thing all the way. And that's exactly what they need. And trust me, I would see a lot more students with a lot more confidence if people would just do that. And it's something so easy, and it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing to be supportive. I'm just saying. So with that said, I hope I didn't scare any of the people that are supporting their coders off. But again, guys, I get messages most times from parents, I will get messages from parents saying that they're researching for their kid, which is a great thing. But their kid or the coder themselves needs to be the one to reach out. They do. And I'm not saying that I don't welcome those emails. I totally do. But they need to be the one to reach out. And for the spouses, for the girlfriends, boyfriends of these medical coders, support them. Support them. They need it. You don't know me. I'm a stranger to you. But I'm telling you that if you were to support your family member who is in this journey and wanting to do this, it would mean so much. And having that is the greatest gift in the world. I will always be grateful and thankful to my mother, who has passed away, but I will always be grateful and thankful for everything that she's given me. And because of her, I have this career, this wonderful career that I get to share with all of you. And I am eternally grateful. Okay, so be that for your coder, because they need it. I'm just saying. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you very much for joining me. There's a lot of videos, a lot of references on my channel. Please take advantage of those references. Look at them, share them with your coder, and best of luck to you. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.